Hello and welcome to the Red Jacket Club. My name is Andy and I'm here with my friend Brendan. This is episode 15 where we're going to talk about some MLB rule changes. Just a couple of items to talk about before the season starts, really because there's nothing else to really talk about right now as we're in baseball limbo. Um, but just a couple of things about how these rules are changing in the MLB, what they're going to do to the Cardinals. But before we get into that, Brendan, it's been a minute since we recorded. A couple of vacations got in the way to where we had to kind of front load some things.
Yep.
How you been? What's going on?
Good, man. Finally, excited to talk some baseball again. Uh, I think we mentioned earlier today we were texting. I was like, dude, it's all I think about.
Yeah.
I've got my dynasty league is in full effect. I mean, we're making trades. I made all kinds of different. I made 3 trades in like an hour the other day. So I'm like locked into baseball. And it's such a weird time right now because we're so close but so far.
hmm
But how was your Hawaii trip? You got to tell everyone about it.
Oh yeah, Hawaii was great. It was the official honeymoon that got postponed. Wedding in September, honeymoon in uh, the end of January. But it was really cool. Got to explore a lot of the island. Was in Honolulu, so pretty much the like just kind of main part of everything. And I got to see a lot, got to eat a lot, that's for sure. And it was just kind of cool to relax for a little bit. But man, did I miss baseball the whole time. I was like,
Uh,
if there was a baseball field, I was like, whoa, I was like looking like
they
squirrel.
had baseball fields just like hanging out in
Yeah,
Hawaii. Do
just
they
like
play there?
they just
Kind
had
of a
parks. Like literally when we got there, we were riding toward the hotel and there was kids like I don't know, probably teenagers playing like an actual game, like
oh
uniformed
wow,
game. So I'm sure they play year round there if it's not
yeah,
raining. So
that's where Colton
yeah,
Wong's from.
yeah, I wanted to see the university real bad, but we just didn't go over there. Too
Yeah,
much other stuff to do. So
yeah.
if you remember, also Greg Garcia,
I
uh,
remember Greg Garcia. Yeah,
he was teammates with Colton
in
um,
Hawaii.
in Hawaii. Yeah,
What is it, Hawaii University or something, or University of
University
Hawaii?
of Hawaii, I think. Yeah, the
Nice,
Warriors, I believe.
cool.
Interesting.
Oh
So
yeah,
yeah, it was a good time. Good time.
yeah. I
Um,
bet.
So let's jump into it. There are a couple of rule changes
Well, first
that
off, hold on. I
uh,
gotta address
oh
something from last episode.
yeah, let's do that.
before before we get into the rule changes, last episode we had breaking news of our new play-by-play announcer.
We sure
At the
did.
time, I pronounced it Chip Correa, and I said he was the grandson of legendary Harry Correa. Now I deserve a slap in the face because that's Harry Carey. Uh, I can't believe I
Famous
didn't catch
Cardinals
that.
announcer.
Famous Cardinals announcer. I mean, just one of the most embarrassing things. Good thing we don't have tens of thousands of listeners because that would have been embarrassing. I probably would have gotten canceled off of baseball media and just
Yeah.
no more career. But yeah, so Chip Carey is our new play-by-play announcer, and initially we were a little shocked about it because we were excited for Chris Goldsmith or something
Goldsmith,
like
yep.
Gold. Yeah. But I think Chip Carey is going to be just fine, man. He comes from a family of broadcasters. He's got 2 sons, actually. I was listening to MLB Network. He has two, I think, twin sons that are in the game. Also, they're broadcasting
Nice.
in the minor leagues. So it's just a big family of broadcasters. So I don't know. I'm excited. What about
Yeah,
you?
lot of Cardinal legend. It's cool that when it comes to filling those gaps that unfortunately present themselves, like Matt Holliday having to step down and unfortunately the situation with Dan McLaughlin, the Cardinals find a way to kind of create a thread where people like that have a background with the Cardinals or have family history with the Cardinals, they fill those gaps with those types of people, so that it's not just kind of like a hire that like Goldsmith would have been great. I believe is he from St. Louis? I don't remember.
There is something that was said that he had St. Louis ties. I don't really know
Right.
what that means, but
Yeah, but like it just wouldn't have. I mean, obviously, I went to the same high school as Dan McLaughlin, so there was a lot of connection for Dan in St. Louis. And so the fact that they got Chip Carey to be able to fill that gap is pretty cool. And then just the last thing on that is obviously we made a big mistake. I was going off of you. I didn't know, I wasn't reading anything, so I didn't think to try to correct you or anything. But that's what we'll try to do, even if we're wrong about something else. No matter what size of an audience, we'll definitely make sure that we correct ourselves and be as accurate as possible
yeah,
when it comes to our opinions and thoughts on the Cardinals and baseball in general. So, yeah, excited for Chip Carey. Hope that it's going to be a good season. It's going to be weird for the first couple of games, not hearing Dan, especially in spring
yeah,
training.
yep,
But yeah, but it should be great, and uh, I think everything will work out for the better now that that hole is filled.
yep.
Um,
I agree.
so that being said, let's jump into those rule changes. So there are three things. I used an article from Anthony Castrovins at MLB.com. This was posted on September 9th of 2022. So it was pretty recent once the rules kind of got revealed as to what was going to be taking place. And there are three things that we're going to discuss today. The three major changes, which are pitch timer, defensive shift limits, and bigger bases. And we'll talk about what they are, the changes in general, and then kind of talk about how they're going to affect the Cardinals and just our thoughts on them in general. So the first one that I guess we can talk about is the pitch timers. So just to go into what Anthony Castrovins was saying on this one is that in an effort to create a quicker pace of play, there will be 30-second timers between batters. And between pitches, there will be 15-second timer with bases empty and 20-second timers with bases that have runners on bases. Pitchers must begin their motion to deliver the baseball before the clock expires, and the pitch timer starts when the pitcher receives the returned throw from the catcher. So, I mean, this is going to really speed things up. The other thing that was crazy about this rule, in my opinion, is that batters only have 8 seconds to be in the box and attentive to the pitch. So that's really going to speed up the timing of a batter. And just coming from an offensive mindset as somebody who still kind of plays baseball, like that seems fast to me. I
Yeah,
guess,
I would have to like
yeah,
try it out to see how fast it is. Maybe we'll time ourselves to see what it's like. But yeah, 8 seconds seems pretty quick. So we'll see how that affects people.
right. I think that this rule is definitely going to be at the advantage of pitchers more than it is at batters, because if batters aren't in the box in alert to the pitcher before that 8 seconds elapses, they give an automatic strike to the batter, which seems crazy to me. I hope that there's some leeway between like the start of the season, or maybe they're saying that you got to get used to it in spring training. But like that seems crazy to me that they're just going to throw a strike up on the board if you're not ready within 8 seconds. The rule also includes limits on how many times a pitcher can throw over to first base. This is something that I'm pretty interested in terms of how it affects the Cardinals. But to get into what the rule says is pitchers are now limited to two pickoff attempts or step offs per plate appearance. So if a runner advances, the pickoff slash step off attempt resets. And then if a third pickoff attempt is made, the runner automatically advances one base if the pickoff attempt is not successful. So this is really supposed to be kind of useful to encourage more base stealing and try to get more action in games, especially when you got some guys that just, I mean, they're trying to waste time for the bullpen to get
That's
warmed
what I
up.
was gonna say.
Yeah.
That I think the main reason on this rule, the whole pickoff thing, is because I mean every team does it. It's a
Hmm.
known thing. It's been okay for a century now. For if someone's warming up, a pitcher will throw over two, three times, maybe even four times in a plate
Yeah.
appearance, and we've never thought anything of it. I am kind of happy about this. It's just gonna, I don't know. I don't care about speeding up the game, but it's going to cut out a lot of the fat that, a
Yeah.
lot of the fat of the game. There's no
Mhm.
need to go over four times in a plate appearance, especially if it's not an elite runner. Now, it will
Right.
be weird when you do. I mean, if you're in a playoff situation and you have the fastest runner in the league on first, and like, let's say it's a tie game, he needs to get on second. Like, what's that going to look like when a pitcher can't throw over more than three times?
Mhm.
It's going to get a little weird, I think, in certain situations, because you got to keep that runner close. But I don't know. Overall, I think it's a pretty good rule.
Yeah, I don't know in that instance if you're relying on the catcher after that second pickoff attempt, trying to throw down to first and in a back pick attempt, but
Uh,
that's a little bit dicier than just kind of seeing if you can get the guy out at second if he does try to steal. But in my opinion, I do like this rule a lot, especially for the Cardinals because we do have experienced pitching that knows how to command a game. And like I said, I think that this is definitely going to benefit pitchers who know how to control the pace of play. Obviously, if a pitcher kind of gets out of that rhythm, it can really like cause them to kind of get out of whack. And I just don't see that being a problem with our pitchers, with the experience that they have. And then offensively, I hope it does mean that we kind of see some bases get stolen more. I was looking into it, and when Harrison Bader was on the Cardinals, he never had more than 20 stolen bases. And we obviously always see him making fantastic plays out in the outfield, getting the balls that nobody else should get to. But like, why was he not stealing more? It obviously there's a lot that goes into stealing, but there are coaches on the staff that are supposed to be there in order to encourage that kind of thing. And so at this point, I don't see how there's really any excuse, especially if a pitcher uses one pickoff attempt. Like you kind of got to get in that guy's head now and like take a little bit of a bigger lead to where he could maybe try to pick you off again. If you're safe, then it's basically a green light.
mhm.
So I hope that it creates a little bit more aggression on the base paths. It may take a little bit though before that kind of seeps into the actual game.
Yep. Yeah, it could totally not have an effect at all. We
Right.
don't really know that yet. I am curious how many pickoff attempts there are in a game. I feel like it's definitely died down over the years. So,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe there's a possibility where it just doesn't have a, I don't know, effect on us really at all. I do think that the pitch timer itself has a big effect on a couple of pitchers here with the Cardinals. The biggest one being Giovanni Gallegos. He's at a snail's pace right now. Whenever whenever it comes to pitching, he's uh, like top. I want to say top 10 in the league. He takes 26 seconds on average in between pitchers with no runners on,
Hmm.
and increases to 30 seconds with runners on. So that equals in a perfect inning, well, not perfect, but with an average of 15 pitches per inning, that's 6.5 minutes of wait time of just watching Gallegos sit on the mound and get ready to pitch.
Hmm.
So I don't know, man. It really could have an effect on Gallegos. Like, pitchers are weird,
Yeah.
they get stuck in their routines, and he likes to take his time. So now
Hmm.
this is gonna force him to speed up the pace, and maybe it'll be good for him where he doesn't have to think a lot. I don't know, but I am curious to see what if Gallegos ever breaks this rule. I could see it happening. Um, the other guys in here that are taking a little bit of time is Helsley. So it's mainly our relievers, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Jordan Montgomery was pretty slow. Wayno was just above the threshold, which makes me wonder if that will affect him. I don't think it will. I think he's just an adaptable pitcher. But
Hmm.
yeah, just a few players that I'm definitely curious to see how they embrace the changes.
Yeah, now that you say that, I never really thought about how it's like the relievers or the closers that are the ones taken all the time. And you think about it when it gets into postseason play, you got Joe Buck really creating an atmosphere of what's happening when Aroldis Chapman's at the plate against Jose Altuve in 2017 and trying to really build up that moment because he's got so much time to talk.
Yeah.
Or those starting pitchers that actually like try to be the commander on the field and really have control of the tempo. So that is an interesting dynamic between those types of roles. One thing that I wanted to end on with this particular topic is that MLB is reporting some success with the pitch timer in terms of their goal of trying to reduce the amount of time that games are elapsing. And so, what they report is that they've reduced the average game time of games in the minors by about 26 minutes. Also, the rules on pickoffs has increased base stealing from 2.23 steal attempts per game at a 68% success rate in 2019 to 2.83 uh, steals attempted in 2022 at 77% success rate. So they are saying that the games are getting cut down. I mean, that's almost 30 minutes. When you're talking about Cardinal games, I'm serious. They're taking 3.5 hours most of the time. If you can
Hmm.
get the game done in 3 hours instead of 3.5 hours, you're going to have a lot more people tuning into those games. And then again, if you have more action on the base paths, more offense, that's only going to keep people's attention more often. So it sounds like they're seeing positive numbers, but we'll see how it really affects the majors when the season starts. Do you want to hop into defensive shift limits, uh, or did you have any other thoughts on the pitch timer before we head into that?
I just was gonna agree with you that the 30 minutes cut off is. I mean, think about, let's say I go to bed at 9 o'clock. I mean, whenever there's Cardinal games on, I'll stay up later. But another half hour of sleep where I'm not like, okay, let's get through this game. Because I know midway through the season, I'm gonna be grinding it out. Every baseball fan does. At some point, we're like, all right, this game's taking a while. So I mean, 30 minutes is pretty good. That's a lot of time to cut off.
Hmm.
You know, a lot more. I don't know, 30 minutes of sleep for me. I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
But no,
yeah.
you can go ahead and jump into the defensive shift
All
limits.
right. I know. I think I might be in the minority. I'm not sure what you think. I don't think I've asked you, but I kind of like the idea of limiting the shifts. Now, I don't know how limiting I want to be. I may be in that gray area, but the new rule, and I'll read it here in a second, it does limit where the players can stand on the field. And one thing that my brother told me is like, that's so stupid. Like, how can a league just say you can't stand here and you can't stand there? And I don't know. I come from it in the mindset of Francisco Lindor when he says, like, I'm a baseball player, let me be a baseball player. Like, don't use analytics to put me where you think I need to go. I'll stand where I think I should stand. But in that case, also he can't stand past second base. So we'll see what it does. But the rule change is um, that the defensive team must have a minimum of four players on the infield at all times. The four infielders must be within the outer boundary of the infield when the pitcher is on the rubber. So this means no more shallow outfielder played by the second baseman. And then the infielders are not if they're not aligned properly, a pitch um, at the time of the pitch of the offense can choose an automatic ball or a result or the result of the play. So like I don't know, we can get into
That's the
that in a
weird
second.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, we can get into that in a second. The infielders must stay on their sides of the field. So that means shortstop and third baseman must be on the left side of the infield, and then second baseman and first baseman must be on the right side of the infield. Outfielders can move to the infield or shallow outfield, but infielders cannot shift into the outfield. And then at least two infielders completely on either side of second base. So just reiterating that other bullet point before.
Yeah, so I
Um,
know that they drew chalk lines in minor league, so I wonder if that's how every field is gonna look like now, or if there's gonna be like an imaginary line. or I don't know how that's gonna work yet, but I guess we'll see in spring training.
I can't imagine with the amount of pride that these grounds crews take in keeping their fields the way that they look,
Not
that
gonna be
MLB,
chalk lines,
yeah, would ruin that with chalk lines, especially with how they like rake the field every couple of innings. I'm sure
right?
they
Oh
do that
yeah,
in the
yeah,
minors,
true.
but I don't see how that would really work.
Yeah, me
Um,
neither.
but in terms of that fourth bullet point, the infielders are not if the infielders are not aligned properly at the time of the pitch, the offense can choose an automatic ball or the result of the play. This one I feel like is just going to get way out of hand. Like I guess I'd have to see it happen in action, and I'd love to see a John Boy breakdown of like one of these plays. So because he's obviously very attentive to what's going on and really kind of breaks everything down really well. But like how can you determine that's the beauty of baseball is that you can't determine the outcome of a play until it happens. So even if a player was standing 2 feet the other way where he was supposed to be, and the ball gets through that hole, and you're saying that there's a runner on second who should have gotten to home, but like like you can't say that then if the ball does get through past the shortstop, but the center fielder's playing shallow, he picks up the ball, throws it home, and gets the guy out at home. Like that could be a defensive outcome. So like how can the offense just say, well, that center fielder's arm isn't that good? Like I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to comprehend what it means by they can choose the result of the play.
So it's kind of the way I look at it, it's kind of like throwing a flag in football. So the other team will have a chance to either accept or decline the penalty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So let's say, which first off, I think and I hope that the umpires are going to be a little lenient here. I think hopefully if a player's cleat his back foot, his heel is on the grass, I really hope an umpire's not going to call that. I hope
Yeah.
they go up to him and say, "Hey man, by the way, you're violating the rules. Like you have one warning." Like I think everyone should get a warning because if it starts being these fine line things of like, oh, his cleat was on the grass or his toe was on the line kind of thing, then I don't know, that could be a little bit annoying. But I don't know. It is interesting. Let's say someone hits a home run, but like I said, someone's cleat was on the grass.
Hmm.
Well, I don't know. They'd accept the. I don't know.
Like,
It's
yeah, is that a challengeable play? Like, can you say challenge?
yeah.
Was the defense aligned correctly?
Now that would suck because
I
then you
mean,
get
I guess
into
you
like the
wouldn't.
fine line.
I guess you wouldn't if you're the offense. You wouldn't want to
Not on
challenge
a
the.
home run.
Yeah,
Let's say a pop out. I guess.
yeah, yeah. Right.
Let's say he pops out, but the first base coach says, "Well, the first baseman had his foot on the grass, and then
Hmm.
I hope it's not like a reviewable thing where they go back, they see it's got one single cleat on the
Because
grass. I
then
don't
that
know.
would defeat the whole purpose of speeding up the game
Yeah,
if we're
that
going
would,
to replays for 3 minutes.
yeah,
Um,
those are
yeah,
definitely the things I'm a little worried about.
I never really comprehended that this could have been an option. Like when I heard defensive shift limits, I just thought, okay, like short and third have to stay on that side, second and first have to stay on that side. I didn't think they'd even go as far as saying that the middle infielders can't touch the outfield grass. Like it's almost kind of dangerous too, because when you think about it, like they haven't made the field any bigger, and these guys are scorching the ball 100 plus
Yeah,
miles an hour. I mean, we play we play men's league baseball, and we play against some big guys who can hit the ball hard, but I don't think they're hitting them 100 miles an hour.
no,
But I play
not
third
quite.
base, and I know a person who almost took my you know what off because I couldn't one see the ball because it was twilight. But like I mean, you got to think like the outfield is or the infield is moving back a little bit for their protection too. So I hope that it kind of gets melded, like they can't kind of change the rules, but like I did want to stop using analytics so much to just sure outs, like because the three true outcomes really came into effect with the shift. But like I hope it does help those people like Joey Gallo, who was complaining, saying that that was a big part of it. I hope it helps those lefties who were having those issues. But yeah, I did want the shifts, but I don't know if I like this rule as much as it's currently aligned
Yeah,
most
I
of
do
the
want
time.
to say that I do like the shifts overall. I don't think I said that yet. Um, I think it's going to bring a lot more athleticism into the game, like you talked about Lindor just wanting to go out and play instead of just looking at a chart out of his
Hmm.
back pocket
Yeah, get
and
rid of
saying play.
cards.
Yeah, that would be nice. Any kind of on-field like assistance, it would be awesome if we could get rid of those. Just let the players play, let them analyze the game. I mean, we reference our men's league a lot. Like when I'm in center field, we all like to read the hitter, and I like to communicate with my corner outfielders. So like
Hmm.
we all move in unison. We talk about the hitter's swing, like what we see, and then we make adjustments. And it would be nice for the outfielders. I bet they would love it. They could kind of get back to their childhood game rather than, oh, it's Mike Trout, I play here. Instead of being a
Hmm.
computer, they can just kind of adapt more. But uh, overall, I am excited for the shift limits. When the first rumors came out like a couple of years ago, I think a lot of people were super against it. I think a lot of people are still against it because they're like, well, how could you tell where to play? It's like just hit it the other way, and it's like, well, if you don't really understand baseball enough if you just are saying hit it the other way. I mean,
Yeah, or
that's not
bunt it
or
down the third base line.
yeah, which I mean, that's a that's a good um
It's a
I don't
strategy,
know.
but
It's
it's
a
not like
strategy, but it's not
most
baseball.
hitters
You want
aren't.
to see
Yeah.
people bunting all the time, or do you want to see them rocket a ball through the gap on the right side of the infield?
Hmm.
So I mean, how this affects the Cardinals. I mean, I think the first person that comes to mind is Lars Nootbaar. I mean, I think this dude is. We already are projecting him to have a monster season. Without a shift, man, he's the type of guy that hit the ball hard to the right side. He's gonna find a lot of holes over there.
Hmm. Yeah, him, Edmund. I know like Edmund's a shift or a switch hitter. Same with Dylan Carlson, but at the same time, when they are hitting lefty, especially
which
for
is which
Dylan,
is most of the time
most of the
because
time,
yeah.
yeah, especially for Dylan. Everybody knows that Dylan's been shown to hit better from the right side of the plate. Maybe this kind of helps him get out of that slump that he's been in from the left side of the plate. Now, not everything is just going to be solved by shift limits. They got to make other adjustments to help their swing, but this is a big thing, like we talked about with Joey Gallo or even Matt Carpenter, somebody who we have a lot of history with and understand his struggle. Um, there are a lot of guys that their careers were just eaten by the shift in analytics. So
Mm,
it kind of just brings offense back. It allows for players to be athletic, which I've always been like a proponent of. My favorite position is second base. I kind of grew out of it just in terms of my size, but at the same time, like I always like playing it because that was where the most movement on the field is. If the ball's in the outfield, you're out there to try and go get the ball. So if you're halfway in the outfield, that's boring.
mm.
Um, so I think it brings more excitement back to those positions. I've always been a fan of middle infielders. I mean, Fernando Vina was my first like favorite Cardinal I remember growing up. And so I hope that again it brings a little bit more excitement back to the middle infield.
Yeah, and it's really going to expose the lesser defensive teams. We're lucky enough to have Edmund. Donovan is obviously a solid infielder. I feel like he doesn't have quite as much range as a lot of second basemen, so we'll see how that goes. But we're lucky enough to have a good enough infield where we don't have to really worry about this. But
Right.
when it comes to other teams, I mean, look at Miami. They got Luis Ariz playing second base. He's one of
Yeah.
the worst second basemen in the league. So like, how is this going to affect him when he can't play
Mhm.
in the shallow outfield where the ball is just going to hit straight to him? I think it'll affect a lot of teams, and a lot of teams are going to realize that they need defense. And we're lucky enough to be Cardinals fans, where our front office kind of saw this coming, and we have the best infield in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to move on to bigger bases?
Sure.
Let's talk about bigger bases. It's probably the least exciting rule that changed,
Kike
but it,
Hernandez, I listened to a podcast. Kike
yeah.
Hernandez said that It looks like there's 3 pizza boxes on the infield now, just
That's
sitting there.
interesting. That's funny. Um, so the bases used to be 15 inches square. Now they're going to be 18 inches square. No changes are being made to home plate. Don't know. I guess that's fine. I don't know what that if they really need to. I mean, I guess they could in terms of catchers complaining about this whole being in the way rule, but they didn't make any changes to home plate. The main goal of this change is to allow for players to have more room to operate and avoid collisions. The change will create a 4.5-inch reduction in the distance between first and second and between second and third, which encourages more base stealing attempts. When you're really thinking like how close you are, I guess that's the incentive there. And then the bigger bases could also have an effect on reducing oversliding, in which players lose contact with the bag sliding through it, which was my biggest point that I wanted to talk about is that I hope that they also I wish that they kind of made that part of a rule change also is that we would stop going into
The
the
replay.
micro slow-mo super
Uh,
zoomed in did he come off the base replay, because it's just a waste of time. Again, if we're trying to speed up the game, then we need to stop worrying about a guy who possibly slid off the base. I mean, back in the day in the like even in just the 80s. Like if a guy was stealing when
Even in the 2000s,
yeah, yeah, I mean when a guy was actually stealing bases,
Oh yeah.
it, if they overslid even just a little bit, like the umpire would just give them the bag. Like
Well, yeah.
there was no reason to think about it. But
They
now
beat the
because
tag, all that. Yeah.
right, yeah. And it's not even tie goes the runner BS. It's all like, yeah, he beat the tag. He's there. He popped off for a second. Who cares? So
Yeah.
hoping that this kind of reduces that as well with them having a little bit more room. I don't know if it gets rid of the oven mitts because they still kind of have room to jam their fingers and stuff like that. But I heard people saying that that could get. I mean, I don't think it really matters if the players are fine with it. Let them wear
Yeah.
oven mitts. Um, but like I said, I hope that's the biggest thing that changes is that players are able to hold on the bag a little bit better.
Yeah, the main reason on this rule change, in my opinion, is probably to just reduce injuries, not too much to encourage more stolen bases. In my opinion, that 4.5 inches. I mean, it there's bang bang plays that obviously 4.5 inches will, a player would have been safe or out. But I think it's mainly just to reduce injuries. I don't know. Yeah, this is one of the more boring rules. I don't really have too many takes on it, um, other than I don't think it has much on stolen bases. I think when it
Yeah.
comes to the Cardinals, maybe 2 or 3 more stolen bases a year because of it.
hmm
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe more. But I don't think people are going to say, oh, the bases are bigger. Let's steal more bases.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that's making me say let's steal more bases is that we have speed for the first time in a while, like competent speed. Obviously, Tommy Edman had 32 last season, which is incredible. Not a lot of people are doing that nowadays. And
Hmm.
I mean, we have guys. I know Tyler O'Neill's got the hamstring problem. I wish I mean, it sounds like he's working through a lot of different injuries that he's coming out of on the healthier side. But then there's also Donovan, who, I mean, when he loses his helmet, which is every time he runs the bases, he loses a little bit of weight. So I would imagine that would make him a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Um, but I hope that they at least attempt stealing 20 times this season, because it seems like we don't attempt enough. Um,
Yeah, it seems like we go more for like quality over quantity. It seems like every time
mhm.
we steal a base, we kind of get it, which I would be curious to see the numbers on like the stealing percentage.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if I could find that, but if you have a few more points, I can try and find that.
Not really. I guess while you're looking that up, I'll just talk about one thing that also changed this year. That's not, I guess it is technically a rule change, but it's something that I really enjoy and hope that baseball, if they ever figure out their TV problems, they start. working on that after they've done this. The other thing that changed this season is that all 30 teams are going to be playing all 30 teams. So what that means is that the Cardinals are going to face everybody in the AL, and then everybody in the AL is going to face the Cardinals. So we're going to see the talents of Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout and Aaron Judge and all these different guys that are superstars of the sport that we just never got to see because of the silly ways that they made the schedules over the last couple of years. I mean, when you think about it, it took almost 10 years for Albert to get back to Busch Stadium. Or I guess it wasn't almost 10 years. It was like 8 years. I guess that's almost 10. But like it's just crazy the amount of time that they just avoided scheduling him at the place that he spent 11 seasons. You'd think that you would do that even just to help out like ticket sales. I mean, the Cardinals fans are going to go to Cardinal games anyway, but it seems crazy that that wasn't even in the back of MLB's mind. And now with all these TV disputes and them taking themselves off of YouTube TV and the constant blackouts that they have and Bally Sports going defunct, it just seems like baseball's in a kind of a media shit show, bad spiral, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And so at least this is a step in the right direction to get the talent in front of other fan bases that may just be casual fans that don't focus on the sport a whole lot. If they're seeing a guy pitch one day and then hit the next and play the outfield the next day, they'll be like, wait, what's going on? And they'll actually learn a little bit more about what's going on around the sport.
Yeah, the main thing, in my opinion, was when the DH came in. Thank God, by the way.
Yeah.
And if anyone disagrees with me, then you're wrong. But anyway, the DH came in, and it just made it a lot easier for teams to play each other. And now that every team plays everyone, I think it's going to spread the sport more. Which, yeah, when we don't even have to talk about media, the freaking Bally Sports just got taken off YouTube TV. The only way you can watch Cardinals baseball right now is DirecTV, I think.
Are they not on Spectrum anymore? Because then I'm just getting rid of Spectrum.
I
Are
don't
they
know
not
about
like on
Spectrum.
cable?
Well, they're not on. I don't know about cable. Who has cable?
I have cable specifically to watch Bally Sports because they
Through
don't
through Spectrum?
through Spectrum. Yeah,
Oh, okay. Okay, so Spectrum has it.
yeah,
DirecTV doesn't. YouTube TV doesn't. Or I'm sorry, Dish TV doesn't.
yeah. Dish.
DirecTV
I was
does.
gonna
Yeah.
say DirecTV does, Spectrum does. But you're right. They don't even have like a subscription service. That was
Nope.
what was weird. They have an app, but you have to use a TV provider to watch
Yeah.
on the app.
Right.
So like I mean, it's so messed up and crazy. Like it's literally the only reason why I have Spectrum. The
Yep.
other whatever 9 or whatever months of the year, I'm not watching cable.
Yeah.
So it's and then when you get MLB Network, you can't watch your home games. There's blackouts
Right.
for games that are in your region. So
Yep.
like it makes zero sense. I hope that them taking MLB TV off of YouTube TV means that they're trying to fix something in the background. And they're trying to either create a space where every game can be watched, which is the only way that it should be. But like, why can't you have the NFL ticket package, but for baseball?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that's a whole nother topic that it's ridiculous. It's weird that baseball is saying that like they want to expand the sport, but then they don't make it accessible at all to watch.
Hmm.
And you can subscribe to MLB, but then there's blackout restrictions. So it's like
Right.
you can't
You
watch
can't
your
watch
favorite
every
team.
game.
Yeah, it's
So
ridiculous. I did find the stolen base percentage, by the way.
yeah, go ahead with it.
Let me hear your guess. Where do you think we rank in stolen base percentage in 2022?
Fifth.
Seventh.
Oh, it wasn't that bad.
But that was pretty good. Pretty good
Yeah.
guess. We are at 79.2%, just behind Philadelphia, and they're at 79.3. So
And
very
they just
small
got
difference there.
they just got Trey Turner though.
Yeah, that percentage is going way up. And then the number one team was the Chicago White Sox at 85%. Do you want to guess who was number 30?
Um, Trying to think if it's like an older team, like in terms of age.
No, they're just a really
No,
bad team.
really
They're in
bad
our
team.
division.
They're
That's gonna
in our
give it
division.
away.
I mean, is the Reds?
The Reds.
Yeah.
They are
Okay.
at 63%, so it's kind
They
of
don't
just
have
a
a lot of
coin
base
flip.
stealers.
Yeah, they don't, but
What was? I'm
they're
sorry, I talked over you. What was their percentage?
63%.
Okay.
So,
Interesting.
yeah.
That's successful stolen bases.
Yeah, that is successful stolen bases. So it's a coin flip basically for them.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is interesting. I mean, seventh isn't bad in the league. That's not bad.
No,
I think
no,
it could
not
be
at all.
better though. Like I said, I mean, we have competent speed to where if you really, I mean, you got Stubby there, who's definitely a good first base coach. He's got the stopwatch. He just needs to get the timing right. And I think, especially with the pickoff restrictions, if that first pickoff comes over, then I say you go next pitch. Like
Yeah,
they're not going to pick off again because once they do, then you're gonna have to you're gonna have to steal. So
right.
um, yeah, I guess my last pieces are is that I think these rules altogether are good for baseball. Obviously, there's little impacts in some and bigger impacts in others, and a lot of questions that I guess we'll just have to see how things go when the games do start, and see if they do raise any big questions in terms of the way that things are going um, during spring training. But I like the way that the sport is going, focusing on getting more more speed in the game, more offense,
More
encouraging
athleticism.
offense, athleticism, and also just trying to speed things up. And then at the same time, like while they're taking two steps back, they are still taking one step forward and allowing talent to be shown across the league. I mean, nothing was better last year than that Cardinals Yankee series. The attendance was through the roof.
Oh
The
yeah.
I think it was one of the most watched serieses because obviously those two fan bases are huge. And so it's something exciting to see that more teams are going to be facing different teams, and it kind of it changes the aspect of does a team win their division by playing other teams that they may not have seen for the past 8 years, a la the Angels in 2018 or 2019. There's a lot of questions with it that makes the season a little bit more exciting. Um, like we said in our little tangent, we hope that baseball stops the tomfoolery with all the network restrictions and everything. But I do think that they're taking a couple steps in the right direction with the rule changes and the scheduling changes, though.
Yeah, I agree. Just gonna bring athleticism to the game. I think lefties are finally gonna be equal to righties. I think righties had a super advantage for a few years because of the shift. So
Hmm.
lefties are back better than ever apparently. So all the players that tried to change their swings to hit it the other way, well now they're like, damn it, I should have just stayed the same.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's yeah. I don't have too many other thoughts. We can talk about a few things that happened around the league. Number one thing, Roland got elected to the Hall of Fame, so we can
Yeah.
anyone can hear my clap.
Scott Rowland.
Yeah, Scott
Yeah.
Rowland got elected. Congrats to him. I think all of the Cardinal fan base kind of knows this news and they know who Roland is. So there's not much for me to say other than we kind of have our own Scott Rowland right now with Nolan Arenado. So
Hmm.
pretty lucky with third baseman.
Yeah. I it's going to be interesting to see who he retires with. I mean, he was a Philly like almost if not longer than he was with the Cardinals. So we'll see who he identifies with. I mean, he did win the World Series with the Cardinals, but I'd like him to go into the Hall of Fame as a Cardinal. Obviously, I grew up with Scott Rowland as my third baseman, and he was always a guy that I'd like to watch play because of his just grit and his seriousness that he brought to the field. He's one of those guys again. It's interesting. I know that everybody likes to shit on the DeWitts and they like to shit on John Mozeliak, but they've brought in guys that are just gamers. They're Cardinals by heart, and they come in and they put their nose to the grindstone, and that's who Scott Rowland was. And he definitely deserved it. It seemed as though a lot of people were, or not a lot of people, but there were some baseball writers that just seemed ignorant, which is weird because they're writing about the sport. But they wrote this guy off for quite a long time, and then even this year they wouldn't vote for him. So I'm glad that he's finally in, and I think he deserves it all the same.
I think he'll definitely go in as a Cardinal. Looks like he was on the Phillies from '96, which wasn't his rookie year. '97 was his official rookie year, and he won Rookie of the Year.
He did, yep.
Uh, and then played 5 more seasons there, so 6 seasons total with the Phillies. Well, 6.5 because he got traded to us, right?
I
In the
don't
middle of that
remember
season,
off the top of my head.
he got traded. I'm pretty sure in the middle of the 2002 season. Then came over to St. Louis, 2002 all the way to 2007. So pretty equal. Maybe a little bit more time with the
Yeah,
Phillies overall,
pretty
but
even split. Yeah.
yeah. But I would think he won the World Series with the Cardinals. In my opinion, he would probably stay go into the Hall of Fame with the Cards because he did have the teammates that he had, Pujols and Edmonds and all that.
Hmm.
So you would think he would, but we'll see. Um, so just a couple other minor moves that I put in here. I don't think anyone really gives a shit about these. Uh, so the Cardinals signed Trace Barrera to a minor league deal. Basically, he has major league experience. He's just acting as the backup catcher to Ivan Herrera down there in AAA for, I would assume, to take over that starting role whenever Herrera comes up eventually and takes Kisner's backup role. I don't know what the plan is there, but it was a super minor move. I probably shouldn't have even included it in here. The Red Sox traded for the Royals shortstop Albert Alberto Adabel
Adalberto.
Adalberto Mondesi. Uh, Apparently a superstar of a player. From everything I've heard, this dude is an athlete, but he just keeps getting hurt. So
Mm.
we'll see how he does for the Red Sox. And the Red Sox also signed Adam Duvall. Um, that's all the moves that I have here. I don't really have much to say other than just minor moves.
Yeah,
Nothing,
I
nothing
got
we need to
nothing.
be
It's
concerned of.
it's again, it's baseball limbo. We're stuck in that spot where the Super Bowl's coming, and then right after that, spring training starts. So,
And then the
um,
WBC, which I'm so excited about.
yeah, I mean, it's going to be crazy this year. I mean, there are a lot of Cardinals. I couldn't
I
even
know.
fit them all into the post that I have ready for that. There's 11 Cardinals representing the United
Different
States,
teams.
Japan, Korea, Mexico, Venezuela. I think there's one, or I don't know. There's a lot of teams that are getting represented by Cardinals. So be on the lookout for that. Hopefully, there's no blackouts in
Yeah,
order in order to not watch. But it seems like a lot of the games are taking place in Arizona
Miami.
and in Miami. So if you're in those areas, lucky you. You guys get to see some world class talent all together. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm excited for spring training to start because with all those guys out, there's more time for people like Jordan Walker to get a little bit of a look from the coaching staff and the front office, and he could prove himself to be possibly starting role, a bench spot, or maybe just give him some time still to warm up to the majors. But there's a lot of guys that'll get some face time in spring training due to everybody being over at the WBC. Anything
Yep.
else that you got before we wrap up here, Brennan?
I got nothing.
All righty, man. Well, This has been the Red Jacket Club. We thank you for joining us. You can follow us on Twitter at red_jacket club. You can find us on Instagram with the same name. Go check out that reel that I created for Jack Flaherty because it took me a long time and I'm very proud of it. And then YouTube, The Red Jacket Club. That's where you'll find this video that you're watching right now. So if you made it this far, thanks for watching. Thank you for joining the club, and we'll see you next time.